Okay guys, in today's video we're going to talk about CBDC, and we're going to talk about something else, basically, like, how corporations are kind of messing around. So I'll kind of, try and put it in my words, right? So I don't really have a word for it, right? So I'll call it manipulation mostly, but let's talk about all of this and broader aspect of the market. So to start off with, I'm going to talk about CBDC, right? Central Bank Digital Currency. It's going to be heard a lot more in the news, the media, and you'll see a whole bunch of articles. I mean, it's just coming out. You'll see it, right? So to start off with, I want to kind of break off this subject for a second before I come up back into this subject, right? So let me give you a broader view of what is going on, right? Because I think it's quite difficult for a lot of people just to kind of comprehend the CBDC subject, right? Because it's like, oh, what's going on? All of a sudden it's not. So let me explain how things work, right? It's very simple. If you actually try and look at the bigger picture, and most of the viewers already know that I always say, always zoom out, right? Always zoom out. It's something I always say, and always use logic and reason to understand what is going on. Okay, I'm not sure what this person wants to do. Right, so logic and reason, right? So let's use all of these tools that we have. Right, we've been gifted this by God, so let's keep all of this and let's find out what's going on, right? So the bigger picture to understand is evolution of money, right? Evolution of money is very, very powerful to understand the evolution of money. Once upon a time, let's just, I'm going to cut the story short, but just kind of give you a brief idea. Once upon a time, right, people used to do swaps, right? So you have something that I want, I have something that you want, we can swap it, also known as the barter system. And that became, a kind of currency, right? So, anything that you swap in exchange for something else, that is, so it's currency. And then what people did over time, then people realized that they don't have to do that, right? Because you can actually have it pegged to something. So when it was pegged to something, it was more like shells, seashells, and all of this, right? Jewelry and all sorts of other minerals and this and that. And that became something of value. And then when people realized there's too much problem, because anybody just could go to the beach and go and pick up a whole bunch of minerals, and a whole bunch of shells and this and that, it became kind of dormant. So people said, okay, let's figure out another way of doing it, right? And same thing with like gold, jewelry, and this and that, right? So you get this poor fella going into some mine, or digging up something, or going to a river and getting all of this gold, but he's not rich, right? The only way he can actually have money or wealth, he would have to give it to somebody else. But the wealthy only got wealthy, right? So the poor fella who done all the hard work, right, he didn't really get paid much. So to him it wasn't of value. And then, hundreds of years, thousands of years later, people said, you know what, let's make a universal currency, right? So they started minting coins, right? So I'm just kind of skipping through. I don't want to go through the whole thousands of years of history of money. It's a whole long subject, right? But the point is people started minting currency, and they started minting their own currency in their own region. So again, there was a problem. So I'm only giving you the problems, by the way. I'm not giving you the solution here, the problems, right? So the problem is you've got, say for example, in a country, you've got like 4 kingdoms. 4 kingdoms had their own 4 different currencies, right? Now, your currency is valuable within your kingdom because it can go back to the treasury and recycle, right? But if it doesn't, and you have somebody else's, but the king doesn't like the other king, so I'm talking about, like, say 4 different kings, and each king doesn't like each other, you have a situation where the other king's currency is not valuable, right? So this was another problem they had. So they had to figure out some universal ways of doing it, right? And thousands of years later, it was established by a larger consensus from the people that gold is pretty universal. It's got the same value everywhere. So then they said, okay, we're not going to measure the price of gold, but we're going to measure how much of a gold, so the weight of the gold, right? And it became pretty standard in, you know, hundreds of years, thousands of years, people actually use this method. And then when people, like it was Chinese actually who first originally figured out how to kind of say, okay, do you know what, why don't we do a paper system, right? And you know, we say that this is your wealth and you can buy things with a paper, so you don't really have to physically move things around. It will be pegged, right? Eventually this, obviously, you know, world being conquered by the Europeans and whatnot, right? And they kind of inherit this system, and then they bring it back, and then they put it into the new world, and then eventually we have money as we technically know it, right? So I'm going to say technically because back in 1970s, money was unpegged, right, from the gold. So back in the days, it was, so the justification was, we give you paper based on how much wealth you have, and your wealth is calculated in gold. So if you come back to us with this particular paper, also known as a ledger, and I'm going to get to the ledger part very soon. We are crypto after all. So you come back with this and we'll give you the equal amount, whatever number you have on your paper, we'll give you that amount's worth of gold. Simple, right? So they did that. I forgot what his name was, but he was a prime minister, and this was during the 1970s Saudi oil crisis, right? Saudi oil crisis. So Saudi decided to stop giving oil and whatnot, right? And that's when all the craziness started happening. So during that, after that time, to prevent this from ever happening again, they said, well, we're not going to peg the dollar to the gold anymore. Temporarily, that's what they used, right? And it's still temporarily until now, 50 years later, or 51 years to be precise. But the point is, so money itself has no is no value. It's just a number on a paper. And if your government and your peers, right, so we call it peers because obviously anybody you vote and put into power is a peer, right? So they if they say this is currency, this is currency. If they say this value of this particular paper is you know, 20, then it's fine. So that's what it became, right? So, you know, and then you identify it with which country it belongs to, obviously. And a lot of the times, like in USA, they will put the heads of prime ministers and presidents, right? Because obviously they don't have a king, right? And then in the UK, they will put their king. And other countries who have, or who had previously had kingdoms, they will put their face on it. For example, in India, they usually put the face of Gandhi, the guy who freed, or, you know, the guy who revolted against the British and eventually got their independence, right? So that's pretty much, that's how it is, right? Bangladesh follows the same thing as India, and so on and so forth, right? So I'm not going to go too deep into that. But over time, so after that, we had the age of internet, right? We had the age of internet. Now it is possible, right? And sorry, before that, say if you wanted to move money, obviously you can't move physical large sums of money or large sums of gold. So you build vaults in each country and you say, I've traded this with you, this much of your gold belongs to me on a ledger, right? Simple. So it didn't have to really move. You don't have to transport it. I mean, back in the days, they used to transport it, but you don't have to transport it. So you can have, for example, America buying some Russian stuff and, Russians buying some American stuff, right? And I'm giving you an actual fact, by the way. And so Russia's paid with gold, and America says, well, yep, put it in your vault. That amount of gold belongs to me. Very simple, right? They did that, but that required a lot of trust. And then obviously the age of internet comes in. So rather than jump in, so let's go to age of internet. Just before the age of internet, they realized that, okay, we can do something different, right? Banks could do something different. They're like, well, instead of moving physical money, why don't we move checks? So if you move a check, then we can handle all of that. And, you know, if you say, I owe the person a sum of this, because a checkbook is exactly the same as your cash that you hold. It's a promise, right? Except a checkbook is more like a document, right? So you're transferring over, it's like a will. So every time you write a check, it's like a will. You're passing on that will and you say, whatever I have here, give it to them now. And that's how the checks worked. Then they realized there's a lot of fraud and this and that. And by that time, internet age is already there. And they realized, well, hold on, why can't we use the internet to manage money, and it's a lot more faster, right? It's a lot more faster than Telegram. It's a lot more faster than, and Telegram as in not this kind of a Telegram app I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual Telegram where they used to, press little buttons and give all these kind of signs, and somebody else on the other side would read it, right? And then you got the telephone system and this and that. So it's all good, right? Everything is good. But it doesn't solve the problem, because they're still having problems, right? Your currency, my currency, how much do I value your currency to be, and how much do you value your, all of those kind of nonsense, right? I don't want to go deep into it. As I said, it's a long subject, right? But the point is you've got this situation where now you've got, the digital age, and they're like, okay, we can now, by the power of the internet, say this much money belongs to this much money belongs to that person, and just at a press of a button we can move these numbers. So they realize that a lot of logistics, a lot of headache, a lot of accounting is minimized by using the digital system. So I think I've got your attention already, right? If I haven't already, you should have your attention now. So money became digital. When money became digital, less and less money was printed, right? And this has been happening since back in the 80s and 90s, right? I mean, we know the age of the internet to be when it was in the public domain, but actually the age of the internet existed since the early as 60s or even before that, right? So intranet was actually used way before that. It was actually designed by the military. So, thanks to them, we have internet right now. It's a brilliant system they designed, and it was only for communication for the war and this and that, so that's what it was. Anyway, I'm not going to go deep into that, but so money is digital as you and I know it, because one has to wonder, if I'm going to my bank, so I've literally gone to my bank, and just for the sake of it, my bank is Barclays, and I want to send some money to for my bill, and the company who provides me a particular service has a bank with HSBC, for example, right? Just for the example. Now we know HSBC is a Chinese bank, right? Even though they operate in the UK, they're a Chinese bank, right? Or they operate all over the world, but point is they're a Chinese bank. So how does Barclays send the money over to China? Well, they don't. They just move the numbers, right? You have this, now you have that much. You have this much less, and I have this much more. Well, that's what it is, right? But there's corruption. There's corruption in the system, right? Now I'm going to get to the main point of all of this, right? CBDC. Well, the evolution of money has come to the stage where it's realized, right? It's realized that actually you don't need physical money. Now that people, contactless technology, NFC technology, checks are dormant. Nobody uses checks anymore, right? You'll probably have 1 in a million that uses a check, right? It would be pretty stupid to use a check. So you don't use that. So money's become digital now, fully digital. You're literally carrying a plastic card in your pocket, and you call it your debit card, right? And you tap it, right? And all of a sudden the merchant's got his money. It's digital. So why have the necessity of having cash? So the evolution, and also in between that, a lot of people are laundering money, moving money and whatnot, and doing all sorts of illegal stuff with money. And remember, the biggest criminals are not the guys you see on the news. Biggest criminals are the ones you don't see on the news. The big boys, they're immune from it, right? Your small time, the Charlie down the road, right? He's the guy, right? And no offense to any Charlies, by the way. The point is, he's the guy who will be locked up, this, that, whatever. He's the one who's going to be scrutinized. He's the one who's going to be on the radar, because you don't want small fish to do anything. But the big fish, the whale, they don't get affected. It's rare that they ever get exposed, because if they do, then every other whale will get exposed. So you have to understand how the justice system works, right? It's not really justful. So coming back to the point, CBDC realizes, okay, well, with digital anyway, most people are not doing anything physical anyway, and we need to we can start doing this particular thing. And from now on, it doesn't matter. And let's do a trial. So China goes ahead and does a bit of a trial. and says, right, we're going to try it in Shanghai, Beijing, and I forgot, I think it's Shenzhen or something like this, in 3 different capitals anyway. So what they said, we're going to try this, test this out, and they did it with a number of select few people through a system. They said, right, you guys use this system, so we want to test it out, and we're going to give you 1 for 1, like for like, and let's see how you get on. And the guys who says, yeah, fine, no worries, they used it, and they just got on like normal. So, I mean, the point of the test was kind of pathetic, because you don't have to, it's there. So they said, oh, but that means, you know, we can do things. And there's another funny fact about China. We know about CBDC in China now, but what we don't know, right, what most people don't know, I do, but most people don't know, China has had 5G donkeys years ago. China's probably working on 6G, 7G, or probably be 10G by the time we get to 5G. China's way advanced in technology. They're trying to make things faster. China has a social something system, social credit system, yeah, where they have everything connected to 5G, and it could identify people. And it's not in all the cities, by the way. This is a myth, right? It's everywhere. No, it's not. It's only in 1 or 2 cities, right? They trialed it, and what they found was they can do social credit system, right? So if you did something bad or you littered or something, the computer can identify you, and it can only do that because it's working at a very, very rapid speed, right? And we're talking 5G plus. And in those cities, most people don't use cash anyway. They use Alipay or WePay, right? A lot of people don't know. They use WePay. They've been using WePay for the last 10 years. Cash is non-existent. So when you're going to go and trial digital currency, sorry, I don't know what you're trialing, because they are digital. You go to a bloody vegetable thing and you want to buy 1 piece of, there's no minimum amount, because it's so cheap. In the Western countries, the banks are always thinking about how to take more money, how to make more fees. Well, over there, they're not thinking about making more fees. They say, no, you're vending, your money is rotating. So you paid $1, the person receives $1. Maybe a small fee here and there for us to handle it. But when you're talking about a population of 1.3 billion, and even if everybody pays like, just, every 100 they pay just 1, well, that's like 1.3 billion a day. Very simple maths, right? Let's not go too far. So, banks don't have to be greedy. If they allow everybody to use the system freely and cheaply, then it's actually valuable to them. So you don't have to control the system. You give the control away to the people, and guess what? People will monetize it just for you. So that's what the CBDC is right now. Another brief history of CBDC. In the UK, since 2015 or something, I can't remember exact date, so don't hold me to it, right? We know the University of Cambridge, University of Oxford, these are top known universities in the UK. They have departments, right? Actual research groups researching cryptocurrency and researching the blockchain. Now, the only reason they are researching the blockchain is because they've got grants to study money. What if we move the money onto this, all right, into the blockchain, and how can we do it? Now, we know that Bitcoin solves the problem, so I'm going to bring Bitcoin in now. Bitcoin solves the problem because Bitcoin has a distributed ledger system. It says we can do peer-to-peer fund transfer without the need for a third party. It's solved the problem, right? So why would you have to study it? Well, I'll tell you why you have to study it. Because that causes a problem. The elite, the people on the top, the people who never get scrutinized, who never get in trouble, well, those people need to figure out a way how the public do not see the ledger. That's what they're studying. So CBDC says we can see everything you're doing, and that's what the Chinese whatever government they have, the Communist Party or whatever they have, what's it called? Chinese People's Party, right? I don't like to use the word communist because there are more communist countries in the world than China, right? So let's not use that word. But yeah, China People's Party, right? They say we want to be able to see everything. Fine, they've done it. There's nothing wrong with that. What's stopping UK, USA already doing that? I don't think anything is. They're already doing it. I mean, I can't withdraw money from my own bank right now without asking for their permission. Well, at least China, they don't have to ask permission because Chinese government already knows. You know, in the UK, they say, well, it's a government legislation. We have to ask you and we have to note down. So when the government does ask us, we have to tell them. Well, guess what? China just solved the problem, right? And China realizes that Bitcoin solved the problem in the beginning, so it's fine, right? So that's what's going on. Bitcoin solved the problem. So yes, when they do bring CBDC out, and America, they're going to test it out in July. MIT and a few other, there was another company, I forgot what it was, but they're testing out the CBDC very soon. And all of these kind of crazy stuff is coming. But don't be shocked, because it's the norm, right? When they got the checks out, people didn't believe it. Then years later, people were using it. When they bought the debit cards and credit cards out, people didn't understand it. Actually, they didn't bring debit cards first. They bought credit cards first. People didn't understand it. Eventually, people understood it, right? And this is banks trying to monetize on you. That's all they're trying to do, just trying to make more money. Banks are not poor, trust me. They're making money on you. So that's what they're doing. And, you know, now basically we've gone to the point where basically we don't even need a debit card. We can literally use a smart device with an NFC tag on it and just tap it and it's fine. In countries like Sweden, for almost 20 years, they don't use money. In some cities, they don't actually use any money. They have NFC devices or mobile phones, and they've been doing it for donkey's years. And they just go and scan a code or type or text, and they've paid for it. It's already connected. Their banking system, their monetary system is already connected to the network. So they are more digital. They've been doing it for 20 years. So, of course it's coming, but it's not what people think. It's not, of course they're going to monitor everybody, but the technology is created in such a way that, you know, it will affect the small minority. Understand what I'm saying? It will affect the small minority who try to avoid the government and the system and the rule and the laws, right? Who try and do money laundering. It will affect those minorities. Remember the word I just used, minority. The majority, the big boys, you know, the whales, the billionaires and the trillionaires and whatever you want to call them. It's designed to protect them. Right? That's what it is. It's designed to, remember, they are the movers, right? The world moves with them. If they demand to move something or do something, they will do it. And there's absolutely nothing you could do, because you're the small fish, right? You're the guy on the, you know, you're the little what would they call it? Like you know, you're the guy in the pond, right? Those are the guys in the ocean. So there's a different story about all of those. So when you start understanding what's going on, so the bigger picture is it's coming. Now, I did mention something. I said start preparing for it. And what I'm saying is preparing. I'm not saying, oh, you know, get your assets, run away. Just no, none of that. Listen to me carefully, what I'm trying to say. Psychologically prepare yourself. If you've got nothing to hide, what's the problem, right? You know, if you've got absolutely zero to hide, I don't see it being a problem, right? But if you've got something to hide, then yeah, you should worry, you know? So I hope it kind of makes sense, right? It's coming. Be prepared mentally that it is coming. If you're going to think, oh, you know, I'm going to stash a whole bunch of cash in under my bed, it's not going to work. In India, when they banned, I think it was the 2,000 rupee or 1,000 rupee note, when they banned it or something like that, they banned it. So what they did, they caught out a lot of people with money under their bed. And these guys couldn't go to the bank because they didn't pay taxes on it. So eventually, guys were sitting around and burning that money on their thing. Or what do you call this? They were burning the money in like bins and this and that, like literally burning cash, because they couldn't put it to the bank, because they know if they do, they'll get 10 years imprisonment, right? This is money they didn't pay tax for. So it doesn't work. India just proves it. It doesn't work. Because what India said was, we have no issues. You got 24 hours or whatever. Bring all your money and we'll give you 1 for 1, right? But the people knew the 1 for 1 wasn't declared, or half of the money wasn't declared. So they said, no. So that way, India kind of reset everything. So if you're thinking preparation means, oh, get into cash or get into Bitcoin or get into whatever, it doesn't work. Because the thing is maybe once you're in Bitcoin, Bitcoin cannot be tracked. But even today, your entry and your exit is tracked. So if the government really wanted to know how much you bought a Bitcoin 5 years ago, they know. And when you exit, right, they know how much money you're coming out with. There's no going away, right? So that, I hope that kind of makes sense to you, right? So what you got to mentally prepare for yourself. So if somebody came back today fresh to me and said, oh, we're going to have a system with a debit card where you use a plastic card, or someone says to me, actually, we're going to give everybody this artificial chip, right, where you can stick it on your arm or something like this, you know, so it's not a tattoo or a chip inside your body, right, because nobody wants one in their body. But if somebody came to me and said, well, you know, that's something you can just stick on and put it on your thing and use that as your money system or as your ID system. I mean, passports, a lot of the passports have chips in them, right? So they know you are authentic. That's how they know authentic passports. Well, the evolution of passport might be one day you might have some kind of a bionic something on you, like a chip or something on you. You don't have to be inside your body, but on you, that identifies you. That will be the evolution, right? I could have one in my glass lens for all of, you know, I don't know. That could be the evolution. So we don't know. But we should embrace it and accept it. And that way we will know exactly what to do when it does come. So I know it kind of sounds wrong, right? But I have been one of those that I said, you know what, technology is going to come and it's going to expand and it's going to double, triple, quadruple over time. I mean, the rate is expanding. It's just unbelievable. So we can all stand back and be the people who, you know, just kind of hold it back for ourselves while the world moves on. Or we can move on with the world, and actually, if we embrace it before it even arrives, we can be one step ahead. Right, so that's like a little message I just want to put in there. You can be one step ahead. So that's something kind of covers the other subject I was going to do. So manipulation, right? I was going to talk about manipulation, right? So you see, you know, like yesterday, day before, even today, a lot of money moving in and out of crypto. So I'm going to go into crypto now. Yeah, a lot of money moving in and out of crypto, and you see. Like, you know, how the market dumps. But one thing a lot of people don't notice, right, is you have, like, say, I'm just gonna give you a rough example because there's too many numbers for me to add up, right? If I add up all the numbers, it was like, I think it was close to around 80 or 90 billion yesterday. So there's no point talking about 80, 90 billion. It's, you know, it's a massive number, and that's the collective number. But individually, you'll see, you know, 100 million, 200 million. Like today, earlier on, just before coming into the car, I saw $163 million a coin, $163 million worth of Bitcoin move out of Coinbase. Well, the person has an account in Coinbase, 100% understand that. But where was the trigger for that? Right? But then you see, you take other signals and you see that $163 million worth accounts for what entered. So a lot of, for some reason, it wasn't a buy or a sell, it's an entry and exit. That's what I'm trying to say. So you notice that something's entered, you know, 400, 500, 600, whatever coins entered from the same wallet, by the way, entered. And then when you add the total up, it works out to be the same value as that 163 that just left the account. So that, you know, begs to ask a question, right? You know, why didn't Bitcoin price just go up? You know, if we've got all these money coming in, these guys just sold, and then it moved out. What? I'll tell you what happened there. When you do something on chain, so if I send Bitcoin from my personal private wallet, remember what I'm saying, it's not your exchange wallet. When I send something from my private wallet to your private wallet, and then you send it from your private wallet to my private wallet or somebody else's private wallet, we can track that it's moved from one wallet to another, right? When somebody wants to sell crypto or doing it through a regulated, like, you know, kind of regulated, like, so they say, we want to sell crypto to you, but we want to sell it through Coinbase. Coinbase will be mitigating this for us, and then you can receive it through Coinbase. Well, all I have to do is load up my Coinbase. So I've done that. and then sell it on Coinbase, and then it shows up that Coinbase exited, to an unknown wallet. It went out because when you add a wallet to the Coinbase, you add a brand new wallet. It is, of course, it's unknown. So then you've lost track. Who was that person? Who is this person? Who sold it? Number one, you don't know because it's come from an exchange wallet. And remember, exchange wallets are not private wallets, right? So when you're tracking money going in and out of exchange, for us, it's showing us as one exchange, right? So it's not specifying that wallet in that exchange. Only the exchange knows who that wallet is, right? So you see money coming in and out. You see a lot of people changing hands. You see whales buying tons and tons of crypto, like Engine and this and that. Yesterday, I saw a whole bunch of Engine coin move out. So I'm like, that's bullish. It's going to pump, right? And you see those buys. You see, even today, I was watching and I was seeing on the Whale Watch, I was watching how, a few, I would say maybe about 30 or 40 billion within like 10-minute gap. I think it was 30 or 40 billion in USDC and moved into exchanges, right? So when you see that, you're like, okay, so someone's getting ready to buy. Question is, what are they buying and who are they buying from? Are they buying it on the chain, on the blockchain, on the exchange, or are they just exchanging funds? Because remember, inside an exchange, in exchange wallet, if I have, say, for example, I have cash. So I'm just giving you a rough example. I have £100 and I want to send my £100 to another exchange wallet. It's not a buy. It doesn't trigger anything because I've just sent it to one wallet to another. Same exchange, if I want to, exchange some Bitcoin from my wallet to another, it's not a buy. Only time a buy happens is when you're openly buying on the market, right? That's on-chain buy. When you're sending cash to somebody and then the other person sends you Bitcoin, and this is all through the exchange, by the way, wallet to wallet. So you send me cash through the wallet, I send you Bitcoin through the wallet. Coinbase sits in the middle and says, we mitigate this, we give us a small fee, we take a few crumbs. It doesn't come up on the chain. So a lot of people have to understand the bigger picture of how blockchain works as well. I mean, there's a whole different fundamental. So a lot of people don't understand this. And everyone keep on, like the Twitter message that I posted on one of my WhatsApp groups, so you guys are gonna watch it. What was his name? I forgot his name. Bob Lucas, right? He's a very good analyst, right? He does very good stuff. He's got thousands of followers and this and that. Very good analyst. So I kind of follow him and I do read some of his stuff, right? So he today mentioned something. He said, all this, the Bitcoin bulls and all of the big boys out there, right, who's made a ton of money. They need to realize something, that all this hype about regulation is good for you, this was good for you, that is good for you. We need to understand that it kind of takes away from where we are. So that kind of brings me to another question that somebody mentioned regarding financial freedom, right? And I've put my own quote. I said, God, bro, the fact is Bitcoin is the first ever asset that truly makes us free, sovereign, gives us our liberty. We own the money. We own this. It's the biggest wealth transfer in the world. The moment we regulate it, we are falling into a trap. So obviously Bob Lucas says we need to come to a consensus. We need to figure it out how to stop this. So the question then to the whole community of cryptocurrency, because remember, governments have regulated, or different organizations have regulated exchanges and said, you can't have a privacy coin because we don't know who owns that coin. That's what the government is, because they can stop it. So a lot of the exchanges do not want to sell it. Now there is a massive consensus going on where, decentralized exchange developers are coming out with ways where the exchange is decentralized. There's nobody controlling it, where you can trade these kind of things, which is a lot better, right? So there is options coming out where nobody can actually put someone or lock someone up or put them in prison or whatever like that, or threaten them. So because you can't threaten them, you can't do nothing to them, you can't stop them. So those are coming, but I think the current exchange inflows and outflows is a bit of a problem, and especially when you add the dots, right? When you connect the dots, when you see, okay, CBDC is coming, exchanges are coming, all being regulated, money in, money out, all can be tracked. And it doesn't have to be someone sitting on a computer tracking it. You can just put an algorithm and say, well, track this movement. And, you know, an algorithm could track, funnily, if I say this, it might sound it might sound really nuts, but it's true. You can have an algorithm track all 7.5 or 6 billion people on the planet independently. Sounds crazy, right? It's not, trust me. The technology exists, because you know my background is in software. So the technology does exist. If we want, we can put an algorithm and track, all right, all 7.56 billion people. And when I'm talking about this is, so our lead developer on our project, he's already done some crazy stuff with the Indian government. I don't want to disclose too much, but he's already done some crazy stuff with the Indian government, and he's not done it once, he's done it a few times, where they have these massive gatherings of millions and millions of people, right? And he's working with the actual law and the government and, you know, the public safety system, right? He's working with that in Indian government, and this is a third world country we're talking about, right? Or considered a pre-third world country, which is coming out of it. But the technology that he created, you can track millions of people simultaneously, right, at any given time. Can you imagine the power? So it does exist, and all you have to do is scale it up, right? So if you scale it up, then, you know, you can take millions of people and make it into billions of people, and you have zero issues. So I hope it kind of makes sense, right? So, you know, I'm not talking completely out on my backside. You know, I have no idea what's going on. Trust me, I do, right? The technology exists. We've done it and everything. You know, it's mental. It's mental, you know, how you can just put an algorithm and do this. So, yeah, I think for people's freedom and sovereignty and liberty, definitely cryptocurrency has to, like, especially Bitcoin or any of the large assets, right? So I'm not talking about one independent currency. I'm not going to be biased towards one. It's all of them. I think there has to be a mega consensus coming in is, okay, how do we have, and also another thing is like Monero. Monero is actually a fork of Bitcoin, except it has ring signature and all sorts of other stuff, which makes it private. And they're doing some really, really good stuff as well to keep it that way. So I hope, like, you know, that people can actually, you know, because it's on a hype right now, market's pumping hard and this and that, a lot of people are losing concentration. They're not really thinking about what could possibly happen. So I think a lot of people need to start putting their thinking caps on again once the bull run ends, or even now. I mean, get to work right now. That's what I would say, is figure out how to, you know, keep our freedom. So I'm not talking about, you know, if somebody wants to go through a centralized exchange, then you're already exposed. So CBDC doesn't make any difference to you. If somebody's coming out through a centralized exchange, through your bank, then, you know, it doesn't make a difference. CBDC doesn't make a difference. But then there are many of us who have bought a long time ago, right? Our wallets are all connected. People know that this wallet belongs to someone, and at some point they will be able to track that. That's what we want freedom for. It's like, well, I don't want to take it out. I don't want to give it to you. I don't want you to know. It's my problem, my business. Who the hell are you to put your nose into it? You know, if when I put £500 in your centralized bank, you didn't give me 500 back. You didn't give me, you made 5,000 out of that. And today you want to snoop into what I have for what? To take my money? Because you're not going to give me double that, are you? So what's the point? So this was the argument, basically. When you talk about this, like, there's a big dilemma, obviously. You know, banks, they monetize on you. You put, like, back in the days, you put £1 in, they make £10 out of you, right? And then at the end of the year, they'll probably give you 0.05. Like, so if you put 100, you get 50p or something like that. So how pathetic is that? And they make 1,000 out of you. It's only fair if you give me half of what you made out of me. So this is a long battle anyway. I don't want to talk about it, but for now, I hope this video kind of makes sense. Sometimes you just got to look at the bigger picture, understand that there are things that are going to be happening in the future, today, in the future. It's out of our control, because as a society, as a collaborative, as a culture, there are certain things that will happen. We cannot stop that. The moment we decided, and I'm talking about history, the moment we decided one man could rule over many, right? We call them kings. Nowadays, we call them prime ministers. Nowadays, we call them presidents. The moment in history we decided to do that, we gave away our sovereignty. We gave away our freedom, right? So, and it's become part of our culture and a part of our society. So we have to accept it, right? So we have to accept it. We can't be rebellious against it. We accept it, but within reason, within logic, you know? So I hope it makes sense what I'm trying to say here. You know, I've accepted it. You know, keep calm, you know, carry on, you know, stay within the legal systems, you know, don't break the laws, keep everything exactly as it is. There's plenty of guidelines out there for you to do all, you know, everything within the laws set by the country and or region or wherever you are. There's nothing you could do. That's society, that's culture, that's how it is. This is how things work. But there are some freedom that we want to protect, you know, and I think with some technology we can do that. You know, and technology is not bad. It's a good thing, actually. It's a good thing. But yeah, I think I'm going to go into some deep stuff, so I don't want to go into those deep stuff. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed what I just said here. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm going to catch you on another one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.